Hi, everyone. So let's continue our Old Forester Whiskey Row series and review a Bottled and Bond, and one in particular that actually pays tribute to the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897 by its very name. You probably guessed it. It's Old Forester 1897 Bottled and Bond. By its name, it pays tribute to the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897 that ensured specific standards of quality for consumers as well as legitimate distillers. And by the type of bourbon in here, it is meant to recognize the type of bottled and bond bourbon that was produced at the time of the passage of this act. This is Old Forester 1910, Brown-Forman Company. It has the same mash bill as everything else in the Old Forester lineup, except for the 1924, which is the newest addition to the Whiskey Row series that just got released. That has a slightly different mash bill, more corn, less rye. But this and the rest of everything else prior to that is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley. So, a decent amount of rye, not the highest, but, certainly it's definitely has a decent amount of rye in there. This was the second addition to the Whiskey Row series. In order, it was 1870, which pays tribute to the year Old Forester was founded. 1897, this Bottled and Bond. 1920 came out, which is the Prohibition style. I reviewed that one, and then the one that came out after that was actually 1910. I think that was the order it came in, which is Old Fine Whiskey. And now the latest one is the 1924, which is just brand new, 10-year age statement, different mash bill, but up to this point, it's always been the same mash bill that I just read. So I'm curious how this is going to kind of taste and the whole deal compared to it kind of sits between the 1910, which was at 93 proof, and the 1920, which is the 115 proof. This sits right in there at 100 proof. And the only side note to this is I'm just curious about is the fact that when I had 100 proof, it was not part of the Whiskey Row series. It's just the regular 100 proof, the screw off tap. I didn't like it. I'm not sure if it's because it was too early in my whiskey journey where I wasn't, I was kind of really drinking stuff below 100 proof or maybe a little less rye, or it just wasn't good. But I'll kind of be comparing it to that as well as the 1910, 1920 that I recently reviewed, the other ones in the Whiskey Row series. I imagine I'll probably, review the 1870 to polish it off, or if I can find that 1924. We shall see. And of course, the single barrel I had from Old Forester was just one of my favorites of 2023. Just one side note to the Bottled and Bond Act itself. We just reviewed the Rittenhouse Rye in the last review, but just to recap again, to be Bottled and Bond, certain requirements. It has to be a product of one distillation season at a single distillery. Has to be aged in a federally bonded warehouse under U.S. government supervision. It has to be aged for at least 4 years, and it must be bottled at exactly 100 proof. So that's the requirements for this. Let's get this to glass and get started. Okay, we got this poured in a glass. Just right off the bat, the nose that I was getting out of the bottle in this seemed to remind me a little bit more of the 1920, but obviously it's it's what do you call it? It's like 15 proof points lower. But I'm getting certainly that very familiar Old Forester. I've kind of had a few of these now. There's certain nose that I'm getting, but there's definitely unmistakably Old Forester. I feel every brand kind of has some identifying features, but let's get to the real identifying features. Let's give this a taste. Cheers. I'm kind of tasting a little bit of both, actually. The 1910 is very specific because it has a double barrel, but this is some of that is reminding me. I'm definitely getting some oak in this. But I'm getting a little bit of remembrance for some reason of that other 100 proof bottle that I had that the very first one, which was a screw off. But I'm gonna try this again. I think it's okay. I mean, I think certainly not bad. I do think that the 1920 and the 1910, I think just my own just gut feeling, I think were a little bit better. Um, this is by far, this is certainly not bad. But let me just try this again. I do see probably what I didn't like about the 100. It does, from what I remember. Now, thinking of it this the way I would have quite a few years ago, I could see why I didn't like this. Not this one, but just the regular 100 proof Old Forester. It was. I thought the taste was very off-putting. I certainly like this better than I did then. It's a different. Again, it's a different bottle. It's that actually, interestingly enough, here's an interesting thing. I'm pretty sure that bottle of Old Forester is 100 proof, but I don't think it's bottled and bond. Just because it's 100 proof does not mean it's a bottled and bond. It has to meet all those other requirements that I just described. But this is bottled and bond 100 proof. The other one was just regular 100 proof. Let me try this once more. It definitely has characteristics, that of the other two. I can definitely feel, drinks about that 100 proof right in the middle of the 93 of the 1910 and the 115 of the 1920. Although I will say, I did note that 1910 drank, and I felt way above its proof of 93 proof, because I just think it's very robust, has that second barrel. But I think what I'm going to do, just because the 1920, that's gone. That's history. But I do have a little 1910 left. And that would just really only just really separated by 7 proof points. Just curious. I'm going to put that in the Glass Nexus and see how they compare. Okay, so I have I took the 1910 out here. Right here, the Old Forester 1910, and I have this in a glass here, and I have the 1897 that we're reviewing here. Don't notice much anything different in color. This is really about two things. It's about the fact that the 1910 is 7 proof points higher. Excuse me, I'm sorry, that the 1897 at bottled and bond is 7 proof points higher than the 1910. So higher proof here, but this one has a double barrel. The 1897 does not. Well, right away, you notice that although the 1910 is a lower proof, this definitely has a richer taste. Let me just give the 1910 a taste. Definitely more of that oak and I call it a little maple syrup. Back to the 1897. I'll put it to you this way. For me, yes, 1897 has the 100 proof, 1910 the 93 proof. Between these two, I think I like the 1910 better, even at the 7 proof points lower, which has got a richer. It doesn't really drink 93 proof anyway. It's very rich, robust with the second barrel. Although you may recall, when I did the 1910 and the 1920 head-to-head, it was so close. I had to give the edge to the 1920, but there it was also because you have 115 proof of the 1920. Also, I think, honestly, I said this is an exception, this 1910, because this drinks to me, it drinks more robust than 93 proof. And then the others I had, you're looking at the 1920 at the 115 proof, and the single barrel, which was like 132 proof. I think, for me, the key is this. I think the Old Forester, with this being the exception, except the double barrel, but I think at the 100 proof, and I may not even bother picking up the 1870, because that's even lower proof. I'm not sure that the taste profile sits well with me at the lower proofs, with, again, the exception of this, just with a single barrel, just one barrel of aging, no double barrel. I think I prefer the ones that are higher proof. There's something for me, the 1897 at this proof there is some kind of a bitter taste in it, and I can't quite put a finger on it. I know it's in the profile, but for some reason, at the double barreling, it masked or changed, and at higher proofs, whatever's there, I like it. But at 100 proof, and I'm going to imagine at the regular 86 proof Old Forester or whatever that is, the lower proof, and the 1870, I don't think that I would like that very much. So I would say for me, the 1897 is okay. Much prefer the 1910. Thought the 1920 was even better, and the single barrel was phenomenal. So I think this is probably going to conclude the series, unless hopefully we can get the 1924. Cheers. Thanks for watching. Take care.